So, yep. All right.
All right.
So I am Myra. I am the founder of Mar Hosted Trips and the community Scuba Mermaids. I'm also a master instructor, and one of my passions is to help all these women to be better divers. So every time you're going to join one of my trips, you're going to see that we're always coaching to make sure that you understand whatever we're doing or that you improve your skills. So that's one of the things that I really like to do, and I know there's a lot of gaps in between the dive courses that we do and the actual diving, the reality. So we're gonna try to do that to close those gaps with this for this project. Um, and Chef,
And I'm Chev. I've been working with Myra since the beginning of the Marmaids, and she has entrusted me with the Scuba Marmaids Dive School, which is one of our new projects this year that the Sisterhood will be a part of. So you'll be seeing lots of me if you do any of our courses or our online stuff. And I'm also a PADI instructor, open water instructor. And so, like I said, our goal for the Sisterhood is to bridge the gap between dive trips, keep us connected, keep us learning. And as Myra said, we really want to bridge the gaps between the training you receive and the real world application, because we've all, I'm sure, taken courses and felt good to go. And then you go out there and actually dive, and there's so many things you don't know. And so we want to help facilitate that for you and remove some of that trial and error from diving. And so we've decided that there's three ways we're going to do that from the Sisterhood. And we're going to call these tea times, our little hangout sessions here that will be open to anyone in the Marmaids group. And we're just going to cover topics that you guys give us and questions that you have in this kind of casual format. And then we're also going to offer some workshops. And so these are things that Myra and I are going to design and give you more practical applications. There might be some in-person stuff, and we'll also give you a little Scuba Mermaid certification to go with it. So things like gear maintenance and that kind of stuff. And then we're also going to do like real courses that you actually get a certification for, whether it's through Patty or Dan or anything else that we can find. And we're going to start with the nitrox because we can do a lot of that online and with a little bit of in-person. But we also want to offer things like fish ID and some conservation courses that we can do either completely online or tied into a trip. And then after one or two dives on the trip, we can give you your certification. So keep an eye out for that. We're aiming to do at least one of these every month, whether it be a tea time workshop or a course. So for September, on the 1st, I'm going to give a little course info session and just talk about some of the continued learning that we recommend you do after you've done your open water. What are some great courses to take? And then also I'm going to talk more about the nitrox course and why it's really valuable, because on the 14th, I'm going to give the nitrox certification course. So that will be available to anyone who wants it and is going to be on a trip with either Myra or I in the next 6 months. And then you'll get the e-learning through Patty. I will do an online session going over the e-learning, answering any questions and doing some practical application stuff and talking about culture of nitrox and how different places around the world issue it and testing and that kind of stuff. And then when you come on a trip with us, we'll get you to test a couple tanks, do a dive, and then sign you off.
perfect.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's the introduction, and now let's get to it. So, how to be a good dive body? This is our first Sisters Tea Time. This is an informal chat, and this oh, this chat is the first time we do it. So we really hope to get more comfortable. As the more we do, I'm sure we're gonna be better at it. But this is the first one, so hang out here. Okay, so I'm also Mexican, so my English is not my first language. So, all right. So, good dive buddies. I think one important thing that we have to remember is that we are multitasking. Okay. So, this is a consistent effort on each diver to be better for your dive body. So, it's about compromising. It's not about you. What do you need? It's about what do we need as a team. Okay, so because this is a diving sport and it's a social sport and also learning is a social endeavor, we need to make sure we learn together and we need to communicate with our team to be able to learn together. So we need to be humble and we need to be assertive. So we need to always talk to your dive buddy um, as soon as you start getting to know them. So we're gonna talk to you how to do this, how to make this happen.
Yeah, exactly. We want to help everyone feel comfortable and confident in what skills are required to be a dive buddy. And as Mara said, it's a social sport. So bringing in that teamwork aspect to diving.
Um, all right. So we're gonna talk about the characteristics of a good dive buddy. Okay. So what makes you a good dive buddy? It's very important that you want to be that person. You want to be the person that somebody tells, oh, you know what? I was diving there and I met this gal and she was a great dive buddy. So you want to be that. But how can you become that great dive buddy? So one of the things that I always recommend when we're on the trips is that we have to do a body briefing and a debriefing. So once you have somebody assigned to you to stay together, before starting diving, you want to talk to them and say, hey, so, this is my experience and what's your experience, and let's talk about how we're gonna resolve our dive together. This is how I dive, and we have to be very patient because every time we dive with somebody, we never know. We will only know underwater. They can tell you whatever they want to tell you, but you never know until you're in the water what's the actual reality, right? It's the same for us. I can tell you, hey, I'm a great diver. That's on my mind, right? But when I'm in the water, I can be all flappy and all that. And I think I'm a great diver? So we just have to be um, in the dive briefing, you have to communicate, okay, so this is we start here, but once you're in the water, it's going to change. And then you have to do the debriefing, okay? That's why it's very important to do a briefing and a debriefing with your dive buddy. So in your briefing, you understand how they like an initial idea of what they are or how they're going to dive. And then when you debrief them, you're going to be like, okay, so this is how I felt in the dive and this is what I would like. I felt like we were a little separated. What do you think if we try to stay together, we try to, be in the back of the group or be in the front of the group? Or I felt like I had, a lot of weights. What do you think if you wait for me a little bit? So you just talk about the things that happen in the dive. So you communicate, and that makes a team work better. That's very important. Something that you have to remember. And you have to be assertive in the sense of if the body that you have is not talking to you, you need to be the leader of that little team. And you need to be like, okay, so if this person is not telling me anything, even if it's kind of uncomfortable, you're going to be like, hey, what can we just talk a little bit about our dive, the beginning and at the end? And then the more you do it, the more common it's going to be. And then it's going to be super fun because debriefing with your dive buddy is actually really sweet because you can go and be like, hey, I just want to make sure you feel comfortable with me diving. So would you mind telling me what you think about how can we improve? So that's the best start instead of saying, hey, I want you to change this or that, right? So you have to go like, hey, I want you to feel comfortable. What can I do to make our dive better. Okay, so then the dive body, then it has an open door to actually say, hey, actually, I don't think you were paying attention to me or whatever, and then you were like, oh really, I thought I was, so let's work on that. And then that's how you become a better diver. So that's very important. And every time we are on dive trips, I'm going to be telling you, hey, remember to do your dive briefing with your dive buddy, remember to do your debriefing, and stuff like that. And then another thing that we're going to be checking once you are underwater, it's that you are actually together with your dive buddy. That doesn't mean that you're like right here, but that doesn't mean that you are far, far away from them. It means that you are like relatively close in case of an emergency. If something happens, you can do a couple kicks, reach out and say, hey, I'm low on air, or hey, I'm feeling a little distressed, or um, I can't find the high master. Hopefully not, but whatever you have to say, right? So you want to stay close enough that it's super reachable. And that means um, that you have to be aware, right? So can you click in the other one? I think yeah. Okay, so monitor air. This one, every diver knows should know how much air they have. Like that's a fact. Like you should know how much air you have at all times. But it's really nice if your dive body is just like um like an etiquette thing, like when you're diving with somebody and then you ask them, hey, is your air okay? Is your air okay? You don't have to be like, oh yes, I have 1,750. It doesn't have to be like that. You can be like, hey, is your air okay? Reminding you, remember, yes, I'm okay, all good. Okay. Now, if you're low on air, you can be like, oh, actually, I'm my tank is halfway. They're like, oh, okay, great. And then you see your air and you say like, oh, okay, we're in the same, or like whatever. So it's very important, especially on the first dive that you do with your dive, the new dive body that you have. You need to um, ask how much air they have, so you know more or less if it's a good match for you. First of all, because if you are in different air consumptions, it's not going to be a good match ever, because that's something that is really hard to change quickly. So if you have a dive body that their air consumption is way off than you, then you have to change dive bodies, and that's nothing personal. That's for everybody to enjoy their dives. You can say like, hey, you know what? I realized that you finish your air like 20 minutes before me. So do you mind if I dive with this person that it has more or less the same consumption? And they will be like, of course, because nobody wants to, be nobody wants to be that person that holds anybody. So if they're gonna be like, yeah, of course you can do that. So please don't take any of these things personal. You should be open-minded of talking communication. It's very important. So, and then we go for stay aware. So that's what I was saying about sticking together. When you have a diver that goes away from you, you can say like, hey, you know what, my dive body is great, but he always like goes away. He sees a turtle and then they disappear, and that's very common. So that's awareness. Okay, so you can actually tell your dive buddy, hey, I'm gonna swim with the turtle. Like, you wanna come, or I should like just sprint by myself? So then it's communication. You can't just like take off. And if you see your dive buddy taking off, then you debrief. And then you're like, hey, you know what? Remember that turtle that we see and you took off? I was a little worried. Do you think we can like communicate before you do that again? Because I don't want this to happen. I don't want us to be separated. I don't like that. And they're gonna be like, oh, for sure, yeah. And then that's how you kind of like resolve these issues, right? So you always communicate. And awareness is one of the hardest things in diving, because remember, it's a multitasking sport. So you're not only thinking about your buoyancy, you're thinking about the turtle, the group, the dive master, the current, the visibility, it's cold, you want to pee, so all these things are in your mind. And then you have your dive body that is going away. So then I think that multitasking is really hard. Thankfully, we're women and we're good at it. So we just we just need a little bit of time underwater to understand how multitasking underwater works. It's a little different. And once you start understanding that you have to be aware of your dive body and also all the other things, then it's when things start changing. There is one point in your dive career where you're going to be like, oh, there's a turn point where it opens up and you understand how to be aware of things, but it takes time. And we have to be patient with our dive bodies because some of our dive bodies are not going to have the same experience that we have. So we have to be open to teach them, or not teach them, but to show them that, hey, I would love if you stay closer. And then they're going to be like, oh, that's awareness. So then that little thing in their mind starts opening up so they can start understanding the awareness of the dive body. Okay. So we're all learning here together. Even me, I have so many dives, and every time I go to a different destination or with a different diver, I learn from them because they might do something that is different and I like it. So we always have to be open to learn from our dive buddies or dive groups, leaders, whatever. So the
Yeah,
next
and
one,
awareness
mm,
too, if you don't mind if I
yeah,
add.
yeah,
That is also really beautiful because of course it's something really important on our first dives with a new buddy, but also it's a really cool like partnership and safety thing as you dive with someone. So like Myra and I dive together all the time. I know her really well. We went on a deep dive and I could see she was narked instantly the moment it
what?
happened, right? That and it was like because you start learning their behaviors and you're learning those little things, so you can also spot problems and issues. And if your buddy's acting differently or strange, you can say like, oh, okay, maybe something's up, something's wrong, they're nervous, that kind of thing. So it's really cool. Also, as you have a dive buddy for a longer time, you still keep learning from them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. If you're lucky to have a dive buddy for a long time, that's one of the best things. You start building up these local jokes underwater and stuff, and it's really it's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, but so another thing that it's a good characteristic of a good dive buddy is to be ready for anything, right? So I remember once we were in Panama diving, and I was not feeling good. I don't know why I had this chest. And my chest was hurting, and I started to getting worried. Like it's one of the DCS symptoms. So we were going down, and I wanted to dive. Sometimes you feel a little bit of thing or something that is going on, and you just want to keep diving because it's nothing. So I told my dive buddy, hey, I feel this pain in my chest, but I think I'll be okay. We just stay shallow. You know what my dive buddy did? She did this. Nope, we're canceling the dive. We're going off because you're not okay. And I was like, no, I'm okay. I can stay. She's like, nope, we're going up. Your chest is hurting. We're going up. And I'm like, you know what? I think she's right. And then we just told the dive master that we were going to cancel their dive. We just were like, we're going up. And the boat was right there. It was just at the beginning of the dive. And we just went up. And I felt better during the surfing. Something like that. It was nothing. But it's very important that your dive body is ready for anything. So if your dive body is there to help you in any circumstance. If you have troubles equalizing, your dive body is gonna stay with you while you equalize. Because if something happens, then you have another set of eyes that can watch for the boat, that can launch the buoy, whatever. So you're always having somebody to have your back, so that somebody that is watching out for you. I remember also one time I was a dive buddy with a photographer, and he was taking so long on those pictures, man. And all the group was leaving, and I was like, well, should I follow the dive master or should I stay with my dive buddy? Of course I stay with my dive buddy because I'm watching where the group's going, where the bubbles are going. And then when he finished the picture, he looked and the group was gone, and I'm like, yeah, but I know where they are, come on, follow me. And then we went together and we catch up with the group. But if I would have left him, he would have just got lost, probably. So you work obviously after the dives we debriefed, and I told him, hey, this is how we're gonna, if you're gonna keep doing that, so this is how we're gonna do it and stuff like we were all instructors at the time, but so you have to communicate these things and you have to be there for your dive, but it's very important for safety. And then the other one we have is the hand signals. So hand signals are very universal and are also very local. So when yeah, so like you have like the good, like all these things that we all know, and then sometimes the dive master comes up with something that you've never seen. They're like, oh, that's how you say 3 minute safety stop, like, okay, so you have to pay attention to the dive master to see which dive signals are they using in the moment, but at the same time you want to make sure your dive body understands the way you were taught, because you were taught some by some instructor that maybe in Philippines, whatever, they're using something weird, and then you're saying something, and the other person is like, I don't know, I learned in Dallas, I don't know what you're talking about. So then you have to say, okay, so these are my hand signals that I use. What are your hand signals? Even in the water, if they tell you something underwater that you don't understand, you just go to your debriefing and you say like, hey, you were trying to tell me something when we were watching the turtle. What was that? Oh, I was trying to tell you that, my watch is just not working or whatever. Oh, okay, so this is how I say that. And then you start, but communication is how you start having a good dive body, and being a good dive body is about communication. So you have to leave all that personal, like all that drama that, oh, my dive body, like they do this and that. No, no, no. It's not personal. It's about trying to be better together. Okay. And then we're gonna talk about staying calm. Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. That we're all staying calm. Yeah. Then
Yeah.
always learning. Yeah, we talked about that. And the debriefing, which is for me one of the most important things. Debriefing with your dive buddy. Um,
And it's something that's not really covered, of course. Not really,
anyone, no, nobody does that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Um,
it's also how you make sure everyone's having a great time.
yeah, so we have a little reminder here that says that incidents occur when divers become overconfident. You can learn from anyone, even divers with less experience than you. So sometimes we have in our trips divers that have thousands of dives, and then um, they feel like they're going to teach, or they have a system that they don't want to change, like this is how I dive, and then whoever dives with me, this is how they have. Well, that unfortunately it shouldn't be, because even if you have thousands of dives, you can always change a little bit, compromise your dive for your dive buddy, because and that's how we grow as divers. If we just keep doing with the same things that we do all the time, then I think uh, it's going to be harder to socialize. This is a social sport, so we have to make sure we accommodate a little bit and they accommodate a little bit, so we can come in the middle and then dive in a fun space. I like the way I like to dive. I don't think nobody likes to dive the way I like to dive. So then when I'm with somebody, then I forget everything that I do when I'm by myself, and then I just focus on making sure I'm a good dive buddy for that person, because I don't want them to say after the dive, oh, the trip leader, it's a terrible dive buddy. No, no. I just so I compromise my dive, and I don't take enough pictures, and I don't do some things. And sometimes when I have to go and help somebody as a trip leader, then I tell my dive buddy, hey, can you stay with this person for a minute, because I'm gonna go and help somebody and then I'll be back. And then I always communicate that. So I think that's important. Okay, so if
Oh,
we go to the next one's for you to share. You talk
yes,
about
for me. Yes. So one of the really important things with being a good buddy, of course, is buddy checks. And this is something that I feel once divers become more confident and more comfortable, we just start to gloss over it, especially in places where they set up our gear for us and do everything for us. We start to get a little complacent and maybe no one else is doing it. So we really try and emphasize on our trips that we always do a buddy check. And a few things that I always try and remind my students is like buddy checks are a secondary check. So you should have already checked your gear before you get to the buddy check stage. So when you're on a buddy check, you're not looking at yourself, you're looking at your buddy and checking their gear and getting to their gear. Um, and it's also not just like checking that things are there, but that you see and understand how to use it. We all know that like lots of BCDs are different. People have different regulators and octos and air two and that kind of stuff. So taking a moment before you get on the dive to look at your dive buddy's gear so that if something were to happen, you're already aware and know where things are. So it's a compromise with the buddy checks of being quick. It should be natural and you should be comfortable in it, but not rushed. It's not, you're not in a hurry to get anywhere. Um, and so take the time to actually do a buddy check and double check things. So there's lots of different acronyms. Everyone has their own. My favorite lately is Big Whales Release Awesome Farts because I love that it has release in there because that word trips people up sometimes. So some little reminders when you do your BCD check, you're checking for dump valves. You're checking on how their gear is set up. Do they have one on their shoulder? Do they have one on their back? That's something that I like to look for. When it comes to weights, you're not just checking that they have them, but how are they released? What kind of quick release system do they have? Get them to explain it to you if it's not obvious. And do they have trim weights or something else on them? When you check air or releases, all the buckles. So I like to do chin down, right? Chest strap, waist strap, and then also tank strap. That one gets forgotten a lot, but it's super important. So spin, check your buddy's tank strap is on tight and in the right position. And then with the air, is it on? Lots of places we go are really good about checking before we get in the water, but stuff happens and that's what your buddy's there for. Check that your air's on and check at the alternate system that they use. Is it a normal octo, air two? Do they have the long hose around their neck? That kind of thing. And then of course the testing then, because that's your backup, right? And for the final okay, of course, it's fins, masks, cameras, all the little flashlights, those kinds of things. But it's also the last check in with your buddy, like, are you feeling good? Are you feeling ready to dive? Like we'll get a little seasick on the boat, or like Myra said with her chest pain. That was the time for her buddy to say, or for Myra to say, you know, I'm not feeling super great like this. And that's how we learn. We are always learning, right?
I would like to add something here.
Yeah.
Um, so for body checks, usually in real life scenarios, you're gonna be on a small boat and you wanna try to sit down next to your dive buddy. Also on the liveaboards, when they assign you a tank, you wanna ask to be next to your dive buddy, because that will make it easier for you to do the body checks. If you're really far away from them, sometimes because it's just not convenient, you just don't do it, and that's start becoming a bad habit. So you want to make the effort on the first day, especially the first day on every dive trip or on every um yeah, the first dive that you do, you have to make the effort of being this good dive buddy so you can start the habit that first day of doing it the whole week or the whole time that you're going to be diving with this person. Because once you decide not to do it, then it's easier not to do it. And then nobody's doing it, and then, yeah, we're good, you know? So I have another good example from my excellent dive buddy that I have, that sometimes, especially me, well, I'm always late. So I'm always like rushing, you know, like putting on my wetsuit, and I'm like, like, oh no. And my dive buddy is like waiting for me to be ready. And then once I'm ready, I'm like, okay, let's go. And then she's always like, no, body check, body check. And then we have this fun way of doing it, which is doesn't take 30 seconds, you know, like because you're used to doing it quickly. And once you're used to doing it quickly, because you do it so much, then you teach your new dive buddies how to do it quickly. It takes time to get there, but it can be really fun, because you're like, it's something also that um, tells the other person that you care about them. So I care about you. So let's do a body check. Before you get in the water, let me check you out. So let me check you out. Let me check you out. And then you're just like, okay, turning my air. And then you're just like, okay, BCD, my air releases. Okay, your air, breathe. How's everything? Okay, you look great. You look good. You look good. High five. Let's go in the water. You see? So it can be something that you create that it can be really fun. And it can be like your little thing that you do. It doesn't have to be like, okay, super serious BCD and all that. No, you can just do your own body check, make it your own it, and rehearse it every day. And then if you forget something, it's okay because your live body is going to be like, hey, we didn't do the final okay last time. Let's remember to do that. Oh, did we check everything? And then if you're not sure, you can say, hey, dive master, can you make sure we're doing our body check correctly? And then you kind of like go through it with them to make sure you're not missing anything. But make sure you sit down next to your dive buddy in the liveaboard, be next to your dive buddy. And if for any circumstance, any reason you cannot be, do it in the distance. You can do it in the distance, and it's okay if everybody's watching. If everybody's watching, you do it in the distance from the boat. Like if the person is across from you and you're like yelling, "Hey, how's your air? How's your VCD? Everybody's gonna be like, wow, they're actually doing it. Should we be doing that? Like, did I do that? Like, why my dive buddy is not doing that?" So it looks pretty nice. It looks like you have your things together. So don't be shy of doing your dive body, your checks. It's very
Yeah.
important and it's really cute to see somebody doing it as
Yeah,
an
and this is
instructor.
exactly, and this is a guideline. As long as you're covering all these things, you can do it however you like.
Hmm.
Cool. Okay. So we made buddy checks sound super fun and easy, but we all know that sometimes challenges come up. So, Myra, what do I do if I don't know my buddy?
Yes. So, so if you don't know your dive buddy, how do you communicate with them? So I think the best way to do it is to start trying to communicate whatever they want. So that way you don't approach like, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. So I'm comfortable. You need to dive like this, you need to dive like that, you need to dive like that's gonna push your dive body away from you. That's gonna be like, ooh, I don't know if I can dive. I don't know if I'm at that level. So you have to be more like, okay, so we don't know each other. Let's introduce yourself. Let's talk about our experience. What do you feel comfortable about? What are you not comfortable with? Let's learn a little bit about us, being respectful and open minded about it. And um, once you start that chat, and you see, like, okay, so what do you need me to do? What can I do to make you feel comfortable in the water? Usually the answer is going to be like, oh, you're fine. I'm very chill. Just follow me, or I'll follow you, or whatever. So it's usually like that. But it's good to start with an open mind, like open the door for them to tell you what they want instead of being like, oh, I need you to be like, because I get like this and that. And that shuts down divers, or everyone really. So you just want to enable conversations for them to feel comfortable with you. um
Definitely.
mhm.
And to like the buddy briefing is usually it's best to do it after the dive briefing, right? So you know the dive site and where you're going and things. So that you can use keys from that to open up that conversation. Like the dive master said, we're going through some swim throughs. Hey, buddy, do you like swim throughs? Are you comfortable with them? Are you going to swim over top? That kind of stuff you can use to start that combo. My buddy doesn't pay attention underwater. We've all
Yeah.
been here. Yeah, this one is hard but I think really can be solved by, like we said, the debriefing, which is not common practice, but can really help with all these situations. And again, approaching it openly, like say, hey, how was that dive? Did you enjoy it? Did you see me doing this? Did you see me find that? Did you see me do this? And probably if they weren't paying attention, they're going to say no. And you say, I found this really cool nudibranch that I wanted to show you, but I couldn't get your attention. And
Hmm.
that lets you into the conversation of like, hey, I think it'd be more fun if we stayed closer together and could show each other things. Or hey, I would feel more safe if you looked at me every 2 or 3 minutes or something. You just made eye contact more often underwater. Those little things that a practical application that you can offer your dive buddy to make you feel safer and to bring their awareness more into your buddy team as well.
Yeah, without making them feel bad that they are not paying attention, because remember, it's a learning skill, it's a multitasking skill. Being aware of your dive body, it's not something that comes natural underwater, because nothing comes natural underwater. So you just have to
Yeah,
learn. And if your dive body is helping you to learn that, then you're helping them to be better.
yeah, cool.
Mhm. So my body and I have different dive styles. Yes. So that is okay. If your dive body is diving in the back and you're diving in the front, you can switch dive bodies. That's the easiest way. I think it's not personal. Again, I think you can just talk to them and say, "Hey, I think we're just not a good match," and that's okay. It's nothing personal. It's not about you. It's just about I would just want to be next to Dive Master. I feel very safe next to him, and I just want to be right there. And the other person is like, I'm a photographer, so I'm gonna stay in the back. So that's definitely not a good match. And sometimes when we go on the trips, I do the matching for the divers, but I don't. I only know what it's in the questionnaire, so I don't know how they really dive. So the first day we call it the checkup dive, so everybody starts getting to know each other. That's when we do the changes. If you're not comfortable with your dive buddy, on dive one, you talk and you say, "Hey, this is happening, and I think we should switch." And of course, it's okay, and then we switch it, and there's no problem with that. Like there's no problem with that. So if you're in a solo trip, you're by yourself in a liveaboard in Indonesia, then you just tell your dive master, "Hey, this person profile is very different from mine, and it would be okay if I switch with somebody else, or can I be your dive buddy with the dive master?" And they'll be completely fine. It is a customer service um, sport. It's about you feeling good, and it's about everybody having a good time. So yeah, so it's okay to have different dive styles, and no one's gonna die. Now, the
Exactly.
other one is what to
Um,
do if my diary has problems equalizing or runs out of air quickly. Um,
we talked about this a little bit already
yeah,
in here. Yeah.
yeah, I
So
think so. So yeah, so
you
again,
take,
if your diary is like 20 minutes ahead of you in the air consumption, then you can switch diabetes definitely. I would I would tell the dive master, hey, I want to keep diving, so it would be okay if I dive buddy with somebody that has the same air consumption than me, and that's totally fine. We That's something hard to I mean, it's not gonna change. It's gonna stay consistent for sure. And every diver, more or less, how much air they're gonna have all week on the first day or in the second day.
yeah, and if it ever
So,
comes between choosing to stay with your buddy or staying with the group, you always choose your buddy, right, Myra?
sorry, I
Like
was reading the question. Yeah. Hmm.
in the like the example you gave of equalizing, your buddy social
Hmm.
equalizing, if you're feeling torn between the group ahead and your
Hmm.
buddy, you stay with your buddy.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
remember, we are all certified divers. As a rule, we are certified to dive with a buddy. So the dive guide is there to make sure to enhance our dive, to show us the time, to show us the dive site and that kind of stuff. But the real life safety application is that we never dive alone. So you stay with your buddy.
Yeah, so if you have problems equalizing, stay with your body. Even if the group's going, the dive master should know. You should have a good dive master that realizes that what's going on. So, but yeah, stay with your dive.
But if they
And
don't, you're there, you send a buoy or whatever. Help.
yeah, you have your buoy, and yeah, hopefully you know how to use it. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And now we have time for questions. And if you have any questions, please write it, and we can talk about it. And there was one
Yeah.
question it popped up, but I don't know how to get to it.
Edie raised her hand, but she didn't type a question. I don't know if Edie's
There's
still
the
here.
I
Yeah,
raised
she's
my hand, but I didn't mean to.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Okay, well, Audra asked the question, and she's wondering how can she get her photographer dive buddy to pay attention to their water? She spends most of her dive waiting for them.
Mhm.
Womp womp.
um yeah, that happens a lot. Unfortunately, photographers are very focused on what they're doing. I would talk to them or change dive bodies, honestly. I
Change
would,
dive
yeah,
bodies. Yeah.
yeah, the photographers need to be with somebody that understands what they're doing in the water. So if you're a photographer, you have to talk to your dive buddy and say, hey, listen, I'm a photographer and I'm gonna stay with this nudie rank for 5 minutes. So are you in or out? Because some people are okay with that. Some people are okay. No worries. I'll wait for you. I love watching what your photography or whatever. Dive photographers are very. It's very hard for them to change because their passion is the photography, and so I would say if you have to dive with them, you have to compromise your dive for them because they're. I don't think they're going to change at all. You can ask them if you can take less. Could be less time. Like don't spend more than a minute on each picture. You could ask
Or
them, but
even, or even you could say like, hey, can we do one dive? That's just a fun dive, and then one photography dive, depending on the site and something like that. If they're a macro photographer and you're going to do a big
yeah.
site, they might
Hmm.
be cool with that.
Or get a camera.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
or why are you waiting for them? Are you worried about them getting lost with the group? Are you being their like safety net kind of thing? Or
that's what I did when I was with this diver photographer. I didn't mind at all. Like he was taking pictures because the dives were so awesome. So I was just hanging out, making sure. I was just worried about him. I didn't want him to get lost. So that was my main focus on that day, and I didn't mind at all waiting for him. And just at the moment where I couldn't see the group, that's when I took him. I don't care what he was doing. I was like, we're leaving. Like we're going. Like this is
yeah,
like I'm not gonna lose because of you. So right now is the limit, and we're both going. So grab your
yeah,
camera. So
that's like a
that's what I
that's
did.
a good agreement on roles too. Is saying, all
Hmm.
right, here's the allotment. As soon as I will be your I'll watch your back, and then when I tell you, you need to respect that and listen. We'll go.
Hmm. But both of them have to agree with that and be, you know, open-minded.
Yeah,
You're
I hope that
welcome.
helps. Yeah,
So yeah, anybody else
hard,
have a
especially if it's
question?
a partner. I get it.
Hmm. Photographers are hard, but we love them because they share the pictures.
Yeah. Outside just our beautiful slideshow of photos. Yeah.
What
What are
would
the
you
best ways
say?
to get your what are the best ways to get your buddy's attention?
That's a good question because we all hate the ding, ding, ding. That's
We
not a
hate
good
the
one. Yeah, don't do that. That's only for emergencies, okay? So your dive master is the only one that triply not even the triply the dive masters are the only ones that should be banging. Otherwise everybody gets distracted. And if it's an emergency, then you bang and then everybody pays attention. If you're banging for everything when you're in an emergency,
No
then
one pays attention.
no one's gonna pay attention because oh another lobster or like oh
Yeah.
what's going on. No, don't do any noise. Nobody cares about the lobster. Everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody's doing their own dive. So if you have divers around you and you want to show them and they're paying attention, show them. If not, move on. Like everybody's doing their own thing, but no need to call everybody's attention. The only person that should do that is the dive master. If you want to call the attention of your dive buddy, then you should be close enough and then you should have eye contact with them enough. So when you want to tell them something, they you just look at them for a little bit and then they should be looking at you at some point because
Yeah.
the awareness is there. And they should be close enough that you can swim two kicks and say, hey, like tap
Shake
the
their fin.
shoulder, get their fin, tap
Or
the shoulder, or come, let me show you this or something like that.
I will also like you can talk underwater. So like
Oh
I'll
yeah,
say to my rig like Myra, Myra, like
yeah,
look,
yeah.
yeah, and that sound,
And
not
then
the whole
they
group
turn,
will
yeah,
hear it, but she will.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
some people use their double ender clip,
Oh yeah, like
the little clip
they,
sound.
a
And if
little
you're
bit like
mm-hmm,
yeah. That could
and
that
again,
could be too. It has to be an agreement. Another thing that you should know is that divers underwater won't hear anything. So you're multitasking again, it's the same thing. So you're thinking about all the things, you're looking, you're focused. So if you're like ding ding ding, like people don't even like they're just like that. So you have to communicate with your die body. Hey, I'm gonna be calling, reaching you out like this. I'm gonna be paying your. I want you to look at me. So please be looking at me because I want to show you things. Or I get nervous. Look at me all
Yeah.
the time, or whatever. Yeah,
Even like,
yeah,
and sudden movements people notice underwater too, right? If
yeah,
we're all sitting there
yeah.
chill and you suddenly go, oh, like people can sense that more than you can hear it. And so,
Actually, another
yeah.
thing that I like to do is with my light. As you know, because I
Mm.
posted it, I use a light all the time, every time, and now it's out of stock
Gone?
for some
Yeah.
reason. So I posted, I have a little small light that I dive with all the time, and that's great for communication. So if you're in low visibility, that's actually another um, subject that we should talk about. But if you're in low visibility, you just wave your flashlight to somebody and they will know that you're talking to them. If you are with your dive buddy, you can flash your light to the corner of their eyes, and then you can see the dive buddy is gonna see like a sparkle, and then they're gonna look at you, and that's no sound, and that's direct. So you just use your light, and then or you can illuminate where they are watching. So whatever they're seeing, you can just make like a like lights, like
Mhm.
a circle, like a something, and then they're like, "What's going on?" And they look up, and then it's you trying to call their attention. So I think a light is the best way to do it. I use a lot the in the corner of the eye. I just like go like this quickly, and they just turn really quickly because it's like, "What's going on?" So I think that's a good one. Having a light, a small light,
Mhm.
is good.
Good question, Jimmy. Thank you.
That's a great question. Mhm. Mhm. Okay. All right. I think that's it. That's all we have.
That's awesome. Did anyone have questions about the sisterhood program? The stuff we talked about at the beginning? I know it was a while ago.
I hope you I hope you
Hopefully.
learn. We hope
Yeah.
we're gonna give you all we have. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we will see you on another
Yeah.
one soon. I hope this
Yeah.
was useful for everyone that
Yep.
everyone got.
Yep. Yep.
And
And yeah, I'll keep posting the ones coming up, and then
mhm,
yeah, if you're interested, yeah.
yeah, we'll be here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Well,
You're welcome.
thank you, Eliana. This was great.
Alrighty.
So nice to see you, ladies.
Nice to see
And
you guys, and see you next time. Hopefully on a vacation.
yes.